So, Scott, you have retrograde amnesia.
Correct.
Tell me what that is, how it happened.
I walked into a restroom at my office building when I slipped on an oily substance and hit the back of my head and suffered, it was like 4 or 5 inch laceration, and that gave me retrograde amnesia, which means everything autobiographical and historical in my life were completely erased.
Erased?
Just like you hit a delete button on a computer. I forgot my entire life. I had no idea who my wife was, her name, my children. It was absolutely horrifying.
Wow. And this happened 8 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
What memories did you have? You still knew English? You still knew things like how to ride a bike? That's a totally different kind of memory.
Right.
When I handed him a toothbrush, he didn't comb his hair with it. He put it in his mouth, but he didn't know what it was called.
And you didn't remember ever using one before? But you didn't have autobiographical memories that involved toothbrushes, but you knew how to operate it because that's a procedural memory.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Things like that, are stored in a different part of the brain.
So it was almost like you were born into this person's body you didn't get to choose. You have a name, you have a wife, you have a house, you have a past.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to just accept that all of those are what you've been dealt.
Right. That's exactly how I felt. Like I stepped into somebody else's life. And a lot of it I didn't believe. I just couldn't picture that, I flew airplanes or was in the NFL. It just seemed like nothing I would ever do. And a lot of it, she had to prove to me. She put together a whole album full of pictures. She kind of put my life in a chronological order.
Wow.
And that kind of, filled some of the gaps of who I was. And I've heard that, you are who you are from the things you've experienced in your memories. And when I hear that, it's like a knife in my heart, because it's like, then who am I?
So Scott, when you're asked, who are you, what do you say?
It's hard to answer that question because I haven't figured out who I am. I'm developing every day my personality and who I am, but inside of my brain, I don't know who I am.
You are the collection of all of your memories, right? I mean, that's your story. Those are things that happened to you and they're in the past. They can't be changed. But it can be created. An illuminating Harvard study found numerous examples of seemingly sane people who believed that they had recovered memories of past lives and alien abductions. And there's no deceit. These people actually believe that these events occurred.
And I remember I was just literally scared to death.
Once people have decided that a memory is real, the brain can fill in details that never happened, especially if the clues you're getting or what people are telling you isn't entirely accurate. Leading cognitive psychologist Elizabeth Loftus made that point in a 1996 experiment where she convinced over 25% of the subjects that they had been lost in a shopping mall as a child. Your brain will just take those untruths and run with them and fill in details out of nowhere, completely changing your personal history. When we last saw our Who You Were subjects, they did not recall the false memory we planted. When you were about 4 or 5 years old, you actually took a ride in a hot air balloon, but you dropped something.
I'm not sure if I remember that, to be honest.
You took a ride in a hot air balloon, and you dropped something.
I don't remember that.
We've let the memory sink in overnight, and today we're going to see if physical stimuli will help solidify this story in their minds. Today is all about you and a little drive down your memory lane. This is where you rode over in a hot air balloon.
In a hot air balloon?
That's right.
Maybe my parents mistake me for another kid.
Some other kids. We'll get out and walk around and see what can come back. Let it all soak in and tell me if anything's coming back to you.
I don't know, man. It's not popping up.
You dropped something when you were in this hot air balloon. Will this be the detail that pushes Tim to remember the event?
What could I have dropped? What did I walk around with back then?
I spent another 15 minutes attempting to kickstart Tim's brain with details of the false balloon story. Has anything come back?
No.
Tim's brain doesn't seem susceptible to the false memory. Let's check in with the other subjects. This is where you took your hot air balloon ride.
Really?
Yeah.
This is Echo Park.
Yeah.
And
It was about 15 years ago? Yeah. You don't remember anything from this?
no.
Of course he doesn't. It never happened. This is where you took your first hot air balloon ride. This is it. Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Does this bring back memories? You don't remember anything from this?
I do remember like something as a kid. I dropped something.
He dropped something. Now, how do you suppose he got that idea? You dropped something. Dylan's mind is gradually taking an idea we planted and adopting it as his own memory detail.
I could have been around here riding my bike. Then we took the hot air balloon ride and possibly dropped a Superman cape.
For some people, physical sensations can be an effective trigger to bring back real or imaginary memories. What about smells and sounds?
Well, when I was 4 or 5 and I was here, I remember it smelling fresh.
This sensory memory may be a jumping off point to begin accepting the false memory. You remember looking down on the park from above?
I might remember being able to overlook the water. I remember like standing over and squatting and like just being so happy to be up there and the wind blowing my hair back, and my dad kept telling me to sit down and I wouldn't sit down.
Yeah, you weren't scared. How high up were you?
Probably like 800 feet.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Victoria's false memory is beginning to take hold with the help of her imaginative subconscious brain. What do you remember seeing from up in the hot air balloon?
The water fountain for sure.
Yeah?
And I could have been crazy, but I think that I could have felt like almost a little bit of mist hit my skin from the water fountain.
What color was the balloon?
I want to say it was red.
Red?
Yeah.
Let's see if the seed I planted earlier has taken hold. You took a ride in a hot air balloon and you dropped something.
I don't remember that.
You dropped something.
I did. At that age, I was a huge Barney fan. And I just like remember just like and looking down and him just being gone.
About where did it fall, do you think?
I would say 6 or 7 blocks away.
Oh, really? So not in the water?
No.
By now, it seems Victoria's brain has turned our suggested memory into a complete childhood experience.
I remember waking up at like 9 in the morning, getting in the car, and then my mom and I being in the car, having no idea where we were going, because he loved to do that. Just put the family in the car and just go somewhere and just like surprise us.
Victoria is personalizing this false memory by merging it with pleasant details from her childhood.
And next thing you know, like we're just like flying over like the whole like greater Los Angeles area.
So who do you think was in the basket with you?
Well, definitely both my parents. I know we got something to eat afterwards. I almost like want to say like a churro or something like that.
Post-balloon churro?
Yeah.
It's a classic. Now that our subjects are convinced that the balloon ride happened,
Oh, shoot.
it's time for a reality check. Tell your mom the memory.
We went on like a hot air balloon ride, and I dropped, I think, my Superman cape. Why are you looking like that?
No, Dylan. That never happened. That never happened.
Wait, what?
There was never a balloon ride.
We made the whole story up. Well, you made most of it up.
Oh, wow.
But isn't that amazing? Because remember, we planted that story.
No, that's actually really crazy. I was actually having like these like weird faint memories of me like looking over like the pond and like, you know, I don't even know.
Has Dylan been to Echo Park before?
Oh, wow.
And now it's Victoria's turn for a rude awakening from her father.
Hi.
Story's not true.
What?
You've never been in a hot air balloon.
What are you guys talking about? Why would you make that up?
Did you truly believe that you'd been in a hot air balloon?
Yes.
You remembered so many details.
Yes.
Of something that never happened.
Yes.
How many times have you been in a hot air balloon?
None.
So what were you remembering?
I'm not entirely sure because I really do feel like I have a memory.
We all are susceptible to this.
I really felt like I had experienced that experience.
And what about our YouTuber, Tim?
Well, Tim, I'll tell you what. It's not surprising that you don't remember anything from it. Because it never happened.
I knew it! I was lying too.
Tim wasn't susceptible, but false memories are common and can have real-world implications. The Innocence Project of the United States claims that faulty eyewitness memories account for 72% of convictions overturned by DNA evidence.
So, who are you? Well, how could you be any one thing? You are always changing.
If you can lose track of your past, and your memories can be altered or implanted, in the end, who are you really?
Maybe you're the stories you're telling yourself. And as always, thanks for watching.